As Chancellor of the University, I shall now proceed with the conferment of an honorary degree. Would Sir John Anthony Anderson please come forward? The Vice-Chancellor, Professor Pat Walsh, will read the citation.
Chancellor, Sir John Anthony Anderson is a business and community leader of the highest calibre. His long and distinguished career in banking and finance has been accompanied by an outstanding record of public service. Born in Wellington and educated in Christchurch, John Anderson studied at Victoria University before beginning his career in 1962 at Watkins, Hull, Wheeler and Johnston in Wellington, a predecessor firm of the company now known as Deloitte. After a period of share broking in Melbourne, he returned in 1972 to help form South Pacific Merchant Finance Limited, Southpac, and was appointed Chief Executive 2 years later. Southpac's merger with the National Bank of New Zealand was closely followed by John Anderson's appointment as Chief Executive and Director of the National Bank. As one of New Zealand's exceptional business leaders, John Anderson has overseen considerable change in his sector. During his 16-year tenure at the helm of the National Bank, he led mergers with Rural Bank and Countrywide Bank. The organisation became part of ANZ Bank Limited in 2003, and John Anderson then led New Zealand's largest bank until his retirement in 2005. The high regard in which he is held, both within and outside the banking sector, is evidenced by his numerous chairmanships and the large number of advisory and governance roles he has been appointed to by successive governments. He currently serves as Chairman of Television New Zealand, PGG Wrightson, the New Zealand Venture Investment Fund, and the Wellington Regional Strategy Committee, and as a Director of Commonwealth Bank of Australia. He has also been a Commissioner of the Hawke's Bay District Health Board, Chairman of Capital and Coast District Health Board, and Director of the Banking Ombudsman Commission. John Anderson's generous donation of time and skill has not been confined to the business sector. Other organisations to have benefited from his business acumen include the World Wildlife Fund for Nature and the Wellington International Arts Foundation. His ability to build good relationships with a diverse range of people and to lead them to excel at what they do has been widely praised. These outstanding leadership qualities have been acknowledged throughout John Anderson's career. He has been named the National Business Review's New Zealander of the Year and New Zealand's most visionary leader in Deloitte Management Magazine's Top 200 Awards. And fittingly, he was the inaugural winner of the Blake Medal for Outstanding Leadership Achievement in New Zealand. A keen sportsman, John Anderson represented Wellington in rugby and won a Victoria University Blues Award for squash. But in the sporting sphere, he is best known for his significant contribution as Chairman of New Zealand Cricket and for representing New Zealand on the International Cricket Council Executive Board. John Anderson's energy, talent, and professional and personal aptitude have seen him make outstanding contributions to the business, sporting and community arenas, both in New Zealand and overseas. We are delighted to bestow on him Victoria University's highest honour. Chancellor, I have the honour to present to you John Anthony Anderson, Knight Commander of the Civil Division of the Order of the British Empire, holder of the Commemoration Medal for Services to New Zealand, Fellow of the New Zealand Institute of Chartered Accountants, Fellow of the Institute of Directors, Senior Fellow of the Financial Services Institute of Australasia, for the degree of Doctor of Commerce, honoris causa, in this university.
By the authority of Victoria University of Wellington, I, Ian McKinnon, Chancellor, now confer on Sir John Anthony Anderson the degree of Doctor of Commerce, honoris causa.
It is with pleasure that I now invite Sir John Anderson to give the graduation address.
Kia ora. Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, Council members of the Victoria University, family and friends, graduands, and ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to warmly congratulate all of you who are graduating today. It is so appropriate to have such a traditional ceremony to recognise both your individual efforts of achievement, but also to mark the occasion as a significant step in your journey through life. I would also like to thank the Victoria University Council for bestowing on me this Honorary Doctorate of Commerce. I am very honoured to receive this distinguished award. Little could I imagine 50 years ago, when I first attended Victoria University, that I would be standing here today as part of my journey through business and life, and perhaps I can share a few stories of that experience. The University of Commerce faculty was very different in those days. Most of us were part-time students, working in the day and attending lectures at night. Life was frenetic. We all played sport, missed lectures, borrowed lectures notes, and swatted furiously in the third term for the year-end exams. On my day job, I started as an office boy in the accounting firm now known as Deloitte, and within 2 months I learnt my first lesson in business. As one did in those days, with a rugby friend, we planned to hitchhike to Auckland on a Friday night to watch a secondary school rugby final. As this was the last day of the month, I also had to put the stamps on the hundreds of clients' debtor statements and post them in the mail that day. Needless to say, I ran out of time, so I put all the boxes of stamps envelopes under the mail table and took off. Unfortunately, that weekend, the government raised the postal rate. So on my return to work on Monday, I received a severe dressing down, not a good way at all to start a career. The lesson I learnt: no job is too small. Whatever you're asked to do it well. After 7 years and newly married, it was on to Melbourne, and a new job which turned out to be share broking. And I started on the bottom rung as a broker's reconciliation clerk. These were days of bedlam, as there were no computers, and the chaos in the back office administration was immense. The first account I was given to sort out was a large list of outstandings, some quite old, with a Sydney broker. And I found one of the partners of the firm I worked for had sold 10,000 Poseidon shares at $200 each. However, the Sydney broker who purchased the shares booked them at $2. Whoopsie. Unfortunately, by the time the transaction was done to when I discovered the error, the shares had subsequently dropped back to $20, which meant they had lost a cool $1.8 million, which in 1971 was a lot of money. Luckily, this amount was recovered before the Sydney broker finally went bankrupt. With that success, I was soon appointed to manage around 100 people, and over the next 2 years, order was restored. It was my first management role and my first troubleshooting role. I suppose what I learned from that was, whatever the challenge was, if you're given one, grasp it and have the confidence that you can succeed. We returned to New Zealand as I had been appointed Company Secretary to the new merchant bank, Southpac. And there is something special being one of the first employees of a newly formed organisation. I became a jack of all trades, as during the 1970s, regulations from the financial markets were removed. As we grew, I was in charge of employing most of the new staff and focused on young, bright and ambitious graduates. After a year in London with the family in 1980, on secondment with Lloyds Bank, we arrived back to Southpac to meet the extraordinary days of the floating of the New Zealand dollar. Call interest rates reached 1,000%. The dealing room noise was huge as dealers screamed their trades out to the position clerk. If one of them got them wrong, they'd start punching each other out the back, and it really was horrific. For 17 days, we were a third world country. We survived this and the share market crash that followed in the late 1980s, and this was due to the quality and expertise of the 200 graduates who were by now long-serving employees. My theory was that as a CEO, I would ensure executives and staff would be trained to become expert in their field, because the better they became, the better the organisation became. We merged the National Bank in 1989, and in the early days of the bank, the challenge for me was to move the organisation from a 1970s business model to the 1990s. To help the process, we conducted individual 360-degree reviews of senior managers. This certainly had a huge impact, as some of the managers had assessed themselves to be quite outstanding, while their peer group assessed them to be quite the opposite. However, what it did achieve, most of all, was that the change process inspired people with the will to succeed, which in turn enriched the organisation. Over the 20 years in managing the bank and the challenges of troubleshooting, it has been a rich tapestry of experience in so many fields. And this was only possible to be involved due to the huge support of my wife Carol and those talented people I worked with all through that time. My message to all those people then, and to you now, is that you only have one life to live, so one should aspire to succeed in all you do, and most importantly, follow your dreams. Thank you.